Governments help organize societies by making laws, choosing leaders, and solving problems. Around the world, countries use different systems of government, and these systems affect how fair, stable, and successful a country can be. By looking at political parties, types of government, elections, stability, and constitutions, we can better understand why some countries work well, while others struggle. One reason the United States is different from many countries is that it has only two major political parties. These are the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. This happens because of the way elections work in the US. In elections, the candidate with most votes wins, even if he or she do not get more than half of the votes. This system makes it very hard for smaller parties to win. Over time, people stop voting for small parties because they think their vote will not matter, which strengthens the two main parties. Countries also differ in how their governments are organized. The United States uses a presidential system. In this system, people vote directly for a president, who is both the leader of the government and the representative of the country. The president is separate from the lawmakers, which can help prevent too much power in one place. However, it can also cause problems if the president and lawmakers disagree. Other countries use a parliamentary system. In these systems, people vote for political parties, and the party with the most seats chooses a prime minister. This can make it easier to pass laws, but governments may change more often. Elections are an important part of democracy, but they are not always fair. An election can be free, meaning people are allowed to vote, but still unfair. Elections become unfair when some people have more difficulty voting, when money gives certain candidates more power, or when voting districts are drawn to help one group win. Even though people are voting, the results may not truly reflect what the whole population wants. Some countries are stable, while others are not. Stable countries usually have fair laws, trusted governments, strong education systems, and peaceful ways to solve conflicts. People believe the rules apply to everyone equally. Unstable countries often suffer from unfair leadership, unequal treatment of groups, or weak trust in elections and courts. Stability depends less on wealth and more on trust and fairness. Constitutions also play a major role in a country's success. A constitution is a set of rules that explains how a government works and what rights people have. Constitutions succeed when leaders follow them, courts protect rights, and changes happen carefully over time. They fail when leaders ignore the rules, hold too much power, or when people stop believing the system is fair. In conclusion, governments work best when people trust the rules and believe they are treated fairly. Political systems, elections, stability, and constitutions all shape how a country functions. When these parts work together well, countries are more likely to be peaceful and successful. When they do not, problems can arise. Why the United States has only two major political parties. Over time, this makes it very difficult for new parties to grow. Another reason is the structure of the US government. The United States has a presidential system, which means there is one president elected by the entire country. Smaller parties usually do not have enough support nationwide to win the presidency. As a result, they often join with one of the larger parties or disappear. In countries with parliamentary systems, smaller parties can still win seats in government, but in the US, power is harder to share. The United States is known for having two major political parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. While many other countries have several strong political parties, the US political system has remained a two-party for a long time. This is not because other parties are not allowed, but because of how elections, voting rules, and political traditions work in the United States. One important reason the United States has only two major parties is the way elections are run. In most US elections, the candidate who gets the most votes wins, even if that number is less than half of all the votes. Because only one person can win, smaller parties rarely succeed. This system is called winner takes all. Voters often feel that voting for a small party is a wasted vote, so they choose one of the two main parties instead. Over time, this makes it very difficult for new parties to grow. Another reason is the structure of the US government. History and tradition also help keep the two-party system strong. The Democratic and Republican parties have existed for many years and have built strong organizations, loyal voters, and large amounts of funding. They control debates, media attention, and campaign resources. This makes it even harder for smaller parties to compete and be taken seriously by voters. Finally, laws and rules can make it difficult for new parties to succeed. In many states, third-party candidates must collect large numbers of signatures to appear on the ballot. They may also be excluded from televised debates or receive little news coverage. These challenges discourage people from supporting smaller parties, even if they agree with their ideas. In conclusion, the United States has only two major political parties because of its winner-takes-all elections, presidential system, long-standing traditions, and election laws. While other parties do exist, the Prime Minister's HQ, 10 Downing Street, strongly favors two large parties. This explains why American politics has remained a two-party system for so long. Parliamentary versus presidential systems. Countries need governments to make laws, choose leaders, and solve problems. Around the world, countries use different systems to run their governments. Two of the most common systems are the parliamentary system and the presidential system. This particular one is the Taipei Presidential Palace in Taiwan. While both systems are meant to represent the people, they work in different ways. In a presidential system, the people vote directly for a president. The president is the head of the government and also represents the country. The president does not belong to the group that makes laws, which is usually called the legislature. This means the president and lawmakers have separate jobs. The United States is a good example of a presidential system. One advantage of a presidential system is that it clearly separates power. Because the president and lawmakers are separate, no one group controls everything. This can help protect freedom. However, this system can also cause problems. If the president and lawmakers strongly disagree, it can be hard to pass new laws. This can slow down the government and cause arguments that last a long time. A parliamentary system works differently. In this system, people vote for political parties, instead of voting directly for a leader. The party that wins the most seats in parliament forms the government. The leader of that party becomes the prime minister. The prime minister works closely with parliament, and they must keep its support to stay in power. Countries such as the United Kingdom, Canada, and India use parliamentary systems. One advantage of a parliamentary system is that it makes passing laws easier. Because the Prime Minister and lawmakers work together, the government can act quickly. However, this system also has weaknesses and failures. If political parties stop agreeing, the government can fall, and a new election may be needed. This means the leadership can change more often than in a presidential system. Another important difference between the two systems is how long leaders stay in power. In a presidential system, the president serves for a fixed term, such as 4 years. Even if people are unhappy, the president usually stays in office until the next election. In the Canadian parliamentary system, the Prime Minister can be removed at any time if Parliament no longer supports them. This can make leaders more responsible, but it can also cause instability. Both systems aim to represent the people and keep power balanced. A presidential system focuses on strong, separate leadership, while a parliamentary system focuses on teamwork between leaders and lawmakers. Different countries choose different systems, based on their history, culture, and needs. In conclusion, parliamentary and presidential systems are two important ways governments are organized. Each system has advantages and disadvantages, and neither is perfect. What matters most is that the system helps people feel heard, protected, and fairly represented. How elections can be free but still unfair. Elections are an important part of democracy, because they allow people to choose their leaders. When people hear that an election is free, they often think it is also fair. However, an election can be free and still be unfair at the same time. This happens when people are allowed to vote, but the system gives some groups more power than others. A free election means that people are allowed to vote without being threatened or forced to choose a certain candidate. Voters can make their own choices, and different candidates are allowed to run. These are important parts of democracy. But being free does not always mean that everyone has the same chance to be heard. One way elections can be unfair is when some people have more difficulty voting than others. For example, if voting locations are far away, open for only a short time, or difficult to reach, some people may not be able to vote easily. If certain groups face more obstacles, the election may not reflect what everyone truly wants. Another way elections can be unfair is through money and advertising. Candidates with more money can pay for more ads, signs, and events. Even though everyone is allowed to vote, the ideas they hear may not be balanced. Elections can also be unfair because of how voting areas are drawn. Sometimes the lines for voting districts are drawn in a way that helps one group win more seats than another, even if both groups have similar numbers of voters. The media can also affect fairness and anticipated result, for the worse. If news outlets only support one side or do not share all viewpoints, voters may not get complete information. Without fair information, it is harder for people to make informed choices. In conclusion, elections can be free but still unfair when the rules and systems do not treat everyone equally. True fairness means that all voters have the same chance to vote, be heard, and influence the outcome. Understanding this helps people become smarter and more responsible citizens. Why some countries are stable, while others are not. Some countries are peaceful and organized for many years, while others face frequent problems, such as protests, violence, or changes in government. This difference is often described as stability. A stable country is one where the government works smoothly, and people generally trust the rules. There are several reasons why some countries are stable while others are not. One important reason is fair laws. Stable countries usually have laws that apply equally to everyone. When people believe the laws are fair, they are more likely to follow them. In countries where laws are unfair or only protect certain groups, people may become angry or lose trust in the government, which can lead to unrest. Another reason for stability is trust in government. In stable countries, people believe that leaders are chosen fairly, and that courts make honest decisions. When citizens trust elections and the justice system, they are more likely to solve problems peacefully. In unstable countries, people may feel that leaders are corrupt, or that their voices do not matter, which can cause conflict. Education also plays a key role in stability. Countries with strong education systems help people understand their rights and responsibilities. Educated citizens are better able to discuss problems, vote wisely, and hold leaders accountable. Without education, misinformation can spread easily, making it harder for societies to work together. Economic opportunity is another factor. When people can find jobs and support their families, they are less likely to become frustrated or angry. In countries with high poverty and few opportunities, people may feel desperate, which can increase instability. Finally, peaceful ways to solve disagreements help keep countries stable. Stable countries use courts, elections, and discussions to settle conflicts. Unstable countries may rely on force or violence instead. When disagreements are solved peacefully, countries are more likely to remain calm and united. In conclusion, countries are stable when people trust their government, believe laws are fair, have access to education and opportunity, and can solve problems peacefully. When these things are missing, instability is more likely to occur. Stability depends not on luck, but on strong systems that people believe in. How constitutions succeed or fail. A constitution is a set of basic rules that explains how a country's government works. It describes who has power, how leaders are chosen, and what rights people have. Many countries have constitutions, but not all constitutions work well. Some succeed and help countries stay fair and stable, while others fail and cause problems. Constitutions succeed when people and leaders respect the rules. In successful countries, leaders follow the constitution even when it limits their power. Courts help protect the rules, and citizens believe the constitution is important. When everyone agrees to follow the same rules, the government can work smoothly. Another reason constitutions succeed is that they can change carefully over time. As societies grow and change, constitutions may need updates. Successful constitutions include clear ways to make changes, such as voting or approval by lawmakers. This allows the rules to improve without causing chaos. Constitutions also succeed when they protect people's rights. When citizens know their freedoms are written into the constitution, they feel safer and more respected. This builds trust between the people and the government. Trust helps keep a country stable and peaceful. Constitutions fail when leaders ignore or break the rules. If leaders use their power unfairly or refuse to follow the constitution, people may lose trust in the government. When the rules are not followed, the constitution becomes meaningless. To cut a long story short, constitutions only succeed when they are respected, flexible, and fair. They fail when they are ignored, unclear, or give too much power to a few people. A constitution is only strong when people believe in it and agree to follow its rules. How governments work and why some work better than others. Governments are systems that help organize countries by making laws, choosing leaders, and solving problems. Around the world, different countries use different kinds of governments, and these choices affect how fair, stable, and successful a country can be. By looking at political parties, types of government, elections, stability, and constitutions, we can better understand why some countries work well, while others struggle. One important feature of the United States government is that it has only two major political parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. This happens mainly because of the way elections work. In most U.S. elections, the candidate with the most votes wins, even if they do not receive more than half of the votes. This system makes it hard for smaller parties to succeed, so people often vote for the main parties instead. Over time, this has created a strong two-party system. Countries also differ in how their governments are organized. Two common systems are presidential and parliamentary systems. In a presidential system, like in the United States, people vote directly for a president. The president is separate from the lawmakers, which helps limit power, but can also cause disagreements. In a parliamentary system, people vote for political parties, and the leader of the winning party becomes the prime minister. This system makes it easier to pass laws, but governments may change more often. Elections are a key part of democracy, but they are not always fair. An election can be free, meaning people are allowed to vote without fear, but still unfair. Elections become unfair when some people face more difficulty voting, when money gives some candidates more attention, or when voting districts help one group win. When this happens, election results may not truly represent what everyone wants. Some countries are stable, while others are not. Stable countries have fair laws, trusted governments, good education systems, and peaceful ways to solve problems. People believe the rules apply to everyone equally. In unstable countries, people may feel the government is unfair or corrupt, which can lead to protests or violence. Stability depends on trust, fairness, and strong institutions. A constitution plays a major role in keeping a country stable. A constitution is a set of basic rules that explains how a government works and what rights people have. Constitutions succeed when leaders follow them, courts protect rights, and changes happen carefully over time. They fail when leaders ignore the rules, when the rules are unclear, or when too much power is given to one person or group. In conclusion, governments work best when people trust the system and believe it is fair. Political parties, government systems, elections, stability, and constitutions are all connected. When these parts work together well, countries are more likely to be peaceful and successful. When they do not, problems can arise.